So I'm going to demonstrate the Icelandic bind off, or sometimes called the garter stitch bind off. And it's really great when you've got a garter stitch edge, or your whole project is garter stitch, because the bind off is going to look like just one more ridge of garter stitch. So it's got a good look to it. It's also pretty flexible. So I will demonstrate this twice, once with holding my yarn in my left hand, knitting continental, and then I will show you how it goes with my yarn in my right hand. So for the first stitch, your yarn's in the back, but you go into that first stitch as if to purl. So from back to front. And then what you're gonna do, you're gonna scoot these up, you're going to grab the second stitch and go through it. So really what you're doing is pulling that second stitch under that first stitch. And you're gonna wrap it and pull it through and off. And then you take that stitch, slide it back on, so you're still in as if to purl, and you're gonna go into that second stitch, kind of pull it under that first one, wrap it, and they both come off. Slide it back on, and go in as if to knit that second stitch. Well, as if to knit, actually knit that second stitch. So then you slide it back on, knit that second stitch, and the whole thing comes off. Get that out of the way. You can see and come through. And see how that ridge just looks like another garter ridge. It really has a good look to it. Okay, so now I'll show you, if you're a thrower, oops, what it looks like holding your yarn in your right hand. So slide it back on, go in, as if to knit, just wrap, and bring it through. Slide it back on, go in that next stitch as if to knit, oops, pull it back through and off. Slide it back on, knit that second stitch, bring it back through, got a couple more here. You just slide it in, knit that second stitch, pull it back through. Last one. Okay. You get to the end. That's what your edge looks like. My edge, once I switched, is a little looser because my tension's a little looser when I hold my yarn in my right hand, but yours will be consistent because you're not going to switch in the middle. So when you finish your row or your bind off, you've got this last stitch on there. What I do is I cut my yarn and then I just pull through and then weave in that end. So that's the Icelandic or garter stitch bind off.